Welcome Ron to Larry Tales episode 3. This is Robo Ron. And, why are you called Robo Ron, by the way?
Uh, Alright, there is a story about this. When you go to a restaurant, or go to a restaurant and you get like the bill and it says the name of the server, so to speak, and the name of the customer. So I used to frequent a place and one of the waitresses there put Robo Ron on the bill.
No
And
way.
yeah, and then it kind of stuck because I took it as flattery. You know what I mean? Because some people might go like, really, you think I'm a robot? But it would started when I wasn't very good with an electrolarynx. I was speaking intraoral stuff with the electrolarynx intraoral adapter, and I sounded much more robotic. So it became, hey, Robo Ron. So, and I love it. I even bought the domain name.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, I had to have it. I had to have it. And then the roboron.com leads to my YouTube channel, which is a mixture of Larry stuff and other stuff and stupid stuff and whatever stuff. So that's where that came from.
That's awesome, man. Way to go. I wanted to share a story, and since I already shared it to you and I made you cry, so I'm just gonna share it again. Hopefully it makes you cry again. That's good. That's for a good video. Um, Ron, when I first got a laryngectomy, my speech pathologist, um, she was like, "Listen, I know this is tough because you sound like a robot," and I personally didn't like it at all. But she said, "Listen, there's this guy, Robo Ron. He's got YouTube videos. He sounds so normal and so like not like a robot, even though his name is Robo Ron." And she sent me all your videos. This is literally like the day after. I think it was like the day after I got out of the hospital. They sent me your videos, and I watched them all religiously to learn how to do my stuff on my neck. And actually, the reason why I found my sweet spot was because of you. Because you were like, you gotta move around for the sweet spot. Everyone's sweet spot's different. You just gotta find the one that works. And I had to really like search for it because I had a lot of lymphedema. I still do. But it's because of you, man, that I was able to even use the electrolarynx. So thank you.
Well, you know what? Of course, you're always trying to make me cry because it's easy to do. Um, I'm an emotional guy. But yeah, I mean, to hear that is pretty humbling, actually, and makes me realize that I'm able to help some people. I mean, I'm lacking on making videos lately. I made quite a few, but somehow I'm not making I'm not making them as often as I should. So I'm gonna get back on that, in part because of this podcast we're doing. It's making me realize, especially when you tell me that, it's like, hey, like a big. Well, I mean, I still try it out, but I'm not posting and making videos as often as I should be. So I'm gonna get back on that, Casey. I really am.
Well, I'm glad I can help you because you helped me. That's awesome. I was doing some research on electrolarynx replacement. Or sorry, the larynx replacement. The new one they're doing at Dr. Lott at the Mayo Clinic in Arizona. And one of the things that was very interesting in that video, it was a podcast and with Dr. Lott, and he talked about how like the laryngectomy community is like the most unheard, literally unheard, because you can't really hear us very well. Community because we're also so small, and so I think more videos of us out there communicating. And I know a lot of laryngectomy people are very shy about the way they sound and don't want to put themselves out there. So I think more videos out there will help not just us, but the broader community in general.
Well, I mean, we're all advocates, and you know what? When we go out in public, we educate whether we realize it or not. I've had people tell me, I think today might be the day I quit smoking because I met you, which is a big one.
I had that happen to me at a bar. That was funny. I went
Yeah,
outside
I
because,
mean,
me, I'm in band, so I'm constantly
oh,
at
you're always,
bars.
you're always in bars, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And I'm
still, I
literally
still
going
haven't.
out aside from the bar, And this guy was like smoking a cigarette, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I was talking with my hands free, and he goes, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, no, well, dude, what's wrong with your voice?" I'm like, "Oh, I have cancer, you know. This is my stomach. That's how I talk." And he looks at me deadpan, like no kidding, Ron. He's like, stares right at me and goes, "I gotta quit smoking."
And you know what? That's what happens when you go out. I mentioned to you before, the emotional and mental part of this needs to be talked about more because there are a lot of laryngectomies that kind of recluse, and they fear going out. Everybody's going to think of them as different, or whatever the reasons are. Some people, mobility might be a reason, but when it comes to the emotional and mental part of everything, you go out. If you can get there, and I learned after I thought I was going to be looked at so differently, I learned that there's few jerks out there, but they're the ones that are the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I
They're
agree.
far and few between. I've had more people so interested in, like, either saying, "Was that from cancer?
Yeah, I mean,
Was that from?"
it's so true, Ron. Everywhere I go, there's people like super sympathetic, and like I would imagine people in like the service industry, like waiters and people in fast food, that have never been so nice to me because of this. They like look at me and like, oh my gosh, and like so much sympathy. I've only had one occasion where someone actually made fun of me on the street. I was walking with some friends, and I was using electrolytes at the time, and this bunch of like young kids, probably like in their teens. He goes, "Oh, you're on," like I said something. I think I said like, "Oh, let's go over there," and then some kid goes, "Let's go over there," like making fun of me. And I was like,
Well,
"You
you
don't
know
even know
what?
me, dude."
Hopefully, that person, as they grow up, maybe remembers that and goes, "I was a jerk. That
Or
was that was
heaven
that was a
forbids they
jerk.
actually have
That
to
was
deal
a
with this.
jerk move."
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but for the most part, it's people being very interested. I get a lot of people when I don't know them, I'm out or whatever, and they look at me, and I can tell they want to ask me questions, but they're like, I guess, trying to be polite and respectful, and I'm like, I'll say straight to them, like, so what do you want to ask me?
that's funny. I've had
I'm,
people
I'm,
when I first got my surgery again. I was on the electrolytes. People thought I couldn't hear, so they were trying to like, if they didn't know sign language, they were trying to like use their hand motions and like mouth the words and not say it. I was like, dude, I can hear. It's okay. I just can't talk.
that is one of the funniest. Well, I don't know if funny is the right word, but and by the way, when people look at me and I know they want to ask something, I'm thrilled to talk about it. Educate. I'm always trying to get it out there. And but I've had people trying to do sign language with me, and I'm like, I don't know sign language. I have people yelling, "How are you?" And I'm like going like, I'm not deaf. But I mean, people are well, most people are visual, and so just something different might throw them off. But then again, I've met people that don't skip a beat. You go somewhere and you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Oh, good. How are you?" There you go. And it's like, and I've met a few people that actually know what a laryngectomy is. They have a relative or a friend
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah, and it's far and few between. It's rare, but I actually have. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, you're a neck breather." I get it.
I had a
You
really
know,
interesting situation at a party recently. Um, the lady came up to me again. This is a party I was playing in, and the lady came into me, didn't know her, and she goes, "Hey, you're a laryngectomy." And I'm like, again, like you just said, most people don't know what that is. So when she said that, I was like, yes, like like we're talking the same language almost. And she goes, yeah, my father had it, and he passed away like 2 weeks ago. She was like, he had it like 20 years ago, lived happily for another 20 years as a laryngectomy. And she goes, it's like she was almost connecting with me as if she reminded me of I reminded her of her father. So it was so sweet and like kind and like and she knew all the stuff that I was going through because she went through it with her dad. and it was just so nice. And then also, she was like, "You're doing so good. You look so great." I mean, like, it was devastating for him, but you look happy. You're in a band. Like, it was touching on both ends. It was really nice.
Well, I mean, she's right about that. I mean, you're on the younger end of the spectrum with this. And you look good. You've been, I've seen videos of your band. I still gotta go see you live. And I will.
Disneyland,
I,
July 26th.
yep, downtown Disney. Dad, let's plug that show for you right now.
Yeah, Disneyland, downtown Disney.
Hold on 1 second. I need to go off camera for 1 second.
He's back.
Sorry about that, brother. My phone was ringing, and I didn't want to interrupt the whole vibe here.
It's
Yeah, but
all
I mean,
good.
seriously, dude, and you got all this energy that I don't have anymore. I did some of the band stuff, and then you're inspiring me actually to start writing more songs again.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it together.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. You guys got energy. Your band's really cool. A
I'm
lot of
lucky
times,
because of how long I was in it prior to my surgery. I was lucky because it was like I'm already well vested in this community, this live band community. I've always been in several bands. There's several venues I've been to, so it didn't hit me too hard that I got this to keep gigging. It's a little bit different just because I can't sell the band anymore myself as well. Like go to new places that don't know me and show up and be like, "Hey, I have a band," or like, "How do you sing?" Like, that kind of thing. Because bartenders are fickle people and bar owners. But but I've been so vested in this community that I'm being able to keep gigging. So that's been a gift. If I didn't have that, I don't know what I would do.
you're a musician through and through, dude. I mean, and your attitude, Casey, is unbelievably amazing. If I may say it that way, that even makes sense at all. Okay, and we've talked a little bit or chatted a little bit as well not on this podcast and stuff. You're you're a tough dude.
Thanks, man.
Now I'm making myself cry, which I'm good at.
Hey, crying is good for the podcast. So keep crying
Oh,
as much as you want.
it is. Somebody give me a bucket to pour my tears into over the years, and I would fill them up. But yeah, dude, you're amazing. You're an inspiration to many, 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 many people. And on top of it, you happen to be a good musician. So there you go. Take
Very
that.
lucky. Very lucky person.
Yeah, yeah, me too, my friend. Me too. And I would love, I'll go back to the mental emotional aspect of
Yeah,
this.
please do.
We both know laryngectomies, we'll just say Larry's, uh, that are active, that are still have a sense of humor. By the way, which is one of the most important things in the entire world for anybody to have is a sense of humor,
Exactly.
and be able to make fun of yourself.
Yeah.
But we all know we all know Larrys that are basically they're out there and doing their thing. The only thing they might not be doing right now is surfing, but there's Larrys that go surfing. So
I want to meet that
most
guy. I want to meet him so bad. I just want to know how he does it.
there's quite a few. I've heard stories of professional surfers that became Larrys and said basically like they're gonna surf no matter what. But there's also Larrys that don't evenly bounce. Depression level is very, very high. Their
Yeah.
anxiety levels are very, very high. Their fear of going out in the world is very, very high. And they're just, they're locking themselves up inside themselves, thinking things that may not be true. you know.
Yeah.
So there really needs to be, podcasts, Zoom meetings, more in-person meetings, and all that stuff that are geared towards just that subject, the subject of mental health regarding becoming a laryngectomy.
I
Because
think
I will,
what would be nice, I know we're both part of the Lost Chords group, but I think what would be nice if instead of a speech pathologist for every one of the live meetings, we had a psychiatrist or psychologist that would come to those live meetings. I think we got to make that
that would
go.
be that would be very helpful. And I mean, I've met so many laryngectomies now. I mean, I might have seen one or two people that were laryngectomy or not, but they would use a device to talk, either a Cooper brand or an electrolarynx or what have you. And I wouldn't know, maybe one or two in my entire life that I can think of that I just saw talking differently. Let's just say, my initial thought was, did they have cancer, or did they get rid of cancer, or what? You know what I mean? So I didn't know like what a laryngectomy was. And then I was told I was probably going to become a laryngectomy, and I was fighting it. And now my current ENT, with my previous ENT, 3 years no throat doctor surgeon, um, he was like, I gotta introduce you to a laryngectomy because it's probably where it's going. And I had the radiation and the chemo, and it almost worked, but it didn't. Um,
Same with
and
me.
and but I mean, it probably saved my life at the time. Um, but he had me meet with a laryngectomy, and we met, and we went to a restaurant in Buena Park. It's very far, Portillo's, and we sat down. And when I walked up to him outside because he was waiting for us to meet there, basically I walked up and I had a whisper of a voice left. I had nothing left of that voice. And I was one of the loudest people in the world, and I still am, by the way.
Me too.
But at that time, I was whisper voice, barely anything coming out. And he looked at me and he goes, "I remember that voice. Oh God, I'm gonna make myself cry again." And so we went in, we ate, and he was showing me, how a TP and the TP works and all that kind of stuff. And the prostheses, he brought TP with him, explained everything, and I said, "Well, if I have to have this surgery," and he goes, "No, you're having this surgery." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, if I end up getting the surgery," I was fighting it all the way. I fought till I had to go to the emergency room. That's how gnarly it was.
Yeah.
And um, and basically he was like, "No, you're gonna have this surgery." It was good to see him be able to talk. And I wish, here's something I want to talk about too. And you know me, I blah 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 all over the place, ADD,
But
ADHD
that's good for
style.
a podcast.
Yeah, well, good. There we go. And I should have, and everybody that is possibly in this situation moving forward, okay, and people that have already had a laryngectomy should go to meetings, should go to support groups. Local live is probably the best.
Yeah.
But Zoom meetings are very, very helpful. They're inspiring. And so one of the reasons I say this is because I didn't start going to meetings. I was in the hospital after I spoke to one laryngectomy. I had two laryngectomies come in, and say, "How you doing? You're getting your surgery," and they were showing me they talk and all that stuff. And that leads me back to the emotional, mental part of this. I'm I'm doing good. And there's a lot of times I forget I'm a laryngectomy. I like just I pick up an electrolyte and talk, and I know exactly where to put it, and I'm used to it and all that. But every once in a while, maybe more than I'd like to admit, I all of a sudden go, "Did I really go through this? Did I really have my larynx removed? Am I really where I'm at?" And I'll sometimes with that go, "I'm all right." Sometimes I'm not. Now I'm gonna make
Yeah.
myself cry again. But the
I
truth
love it, man.
is,
I mean, I don't love that you're
I don't.
crying, but it's the emotional thing. I
Oh,
love the
you love
emotion
it.
that you're giving us.
Oh, you love it. Anyways, no, but the whole thing. No, I know you're a good guy and you don't want to see me cry. I
I
get it.
won't.
Sounds like a song title. Anyways, but yeah. So I mean, a lot of people might look at me like I'm just, and Ron is perfectly fine. Well, sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not.
Yep,
And I feel for every laryngectomy. I feel for anybody in the world. I'm very empathetic. I'm very empathetic, and so if it's another situation when people go through stuff, I feel for them. But there's obviously a special connection with laryngectomies, and I just think that that everybody really needs to take care of their emotional and mental well-being.
I agree. It's like you're. Thank you so much for sharing that too, and like you're such an awesome dude for being so open and sharing your emotions about it. Because I think a lot of people who are not laryngectomies, a lot of people who are not laryngectomies, they basically think the surgery happens and then the coping with it stops. But no, it's as a Larry, this it's an ongoing thing, mentally and physically, just to keep surviving and being, healthy and continuing on. Afterwards, it's a constant thing.
Well, there's another emotional aspect to this, and I think we all deal with it. I won't. I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, but once I'm not saying it's just being a laryngectomy. It's cancer in general. Okay. Now, not every laryngectomy is because of cancer. There could be other reasons. Aspiration pneumonia problems. There could be an injury to the larynx where it's like we gotta remove it. But
The
which
majority are cancer related, yeah.
the majority are cancer, and once you hear that word, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, I don't know for sure with you, but I kind of do. Once you hear that word, you're always going to hear it. You're always going to hear it. It's always going to somehow pop up, whether it be because you're on a Zoom meeting talking to somebody who has cancer and needs to get a laryngectomy, or somebody, or it's something that's always fearful after you've been told you've ever had it in the first place. So and we can get in.
Yeah, we
That's
can. I mean, we have to go pretty soon just because of the time,
No,
but
I know, and I'm just saying, I mean, there are days go by where I don't think about cancer,
yeah,
but those seem to be a little bit far and few between because I'm always thinking about it,
yep, yep.
and especially since I have, and we all have to go get checked out, and I get scoped a lot. My doctor tells me don't come back for 6 months, and I go no, I need to be here in 3 or 4.
And
I
that's
mean,
kind of like leading up to what's going on with me is because like I change
um,
insurances right in between. Not to get too much in the weeds about it, but yes, I do have cancer now. Again, it's in my glottis muscles, below the tongue, and I'm going to see the doctor today to see what's next. And it doesn't look good, but I was switching insurance during that from my last CT in November to my CT I just had 2 weeks ago. There was no symptoms, there was nothing wrong, and he told me the same thing. 6 months, you're good to go, and it's like, where did they find the 6 month like number? Because it didn't work for me. I'm sure it doesn't work for other people either. And my cancer, it's. I mean, they caught it right away, but how long has it been growing? It's from the November to now. How long has that thing been, boring into my throat? So it's kind of it's kind of a shitty thing, and it's kind of like there's no way around it. Like our cancer screening's got to improve. We got to do better with this. But we've had cancer around for so long. You think they would be better at this?
Well, your attitude, Casey, is amazing, and I know what you told me about your situation.
Say hello.
Hello.
How you
This is
doing?
Ellie.
Hi, Sally. How are you?
I'm almost done, baby. I gotta get finished up here, and then we'll get going. Okay? Yep, that's the other part. I'm a dad too, so
No, no,
that keeps me
and I've
going.
got I've seen your I've I've seen all your, a lot of your pictures and stuff on Facebook and everything. And I know your situation from what you told me right now, what you're going through. I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't know if you wanted to bring it up,
I'm an
but
open book.
you brought it up, and I love you, brother, and I'm wishing,
Thank you.
for the best with what moves you need to make next. Um,
It's a
yeah,
good topic for another episode. So if you guys
yeah,
want to do
no,
this next
no
week,
worries. And I know you got to get going, and you got, your dad duties, and you got your appointment and all that stuff. I mean, I'm thrilled to be on the podcast with you. And we can, if you want to pick it up after your doctor's appointment, we can do that too. I mean,
let's do it.
I know you're a busy guy. Um, I know you go to a lot of bars, but that's for the music. Um, and yeah, and I'm wishing you the best with what you get told today.
Thank you, man. I
And
appreciate it.
everybody out there, I wish everybody the best. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever you're
yeah,
going through, like, just hang on, man. You're good. You can get through it. And I think for me, it's like, because I kind of knew I had cancer before the doctor told me, and my wife was crying and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? It's just the next thing. It is the next thing that I gotta deal with. And, it's, I
well,
didn't shed one tear about it. I was like, I know I gotta get this fixed because I want to survive. So it's just like the next thing in the road that I gotta do.
well, you have got one of the best attitudes in the world. All right, I love you, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care, Ron.
All right, good luck today.